Hey crafty friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina. Today we're rekindling some thrifted finds using pumpkins as our inspiration. The first is this mold, and I love the color of it. I don't want to paint it. There's just some things that you don't want to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece to use as a base. You can take a piece of cardboard that I punched out a circle, or just cut down a chalkboard tag from the Dollar Tree. But what I'm going to use is this burlap flower. Because I don't want to damage the mold in any way, I'm going to use this, and we're just going to end up putting everything, gluing everything onto this burlap flower, and then attaching it later in the video with something that can be removed. So I start by just removing some petals and kind of deciding how much of it I actually need to use, and I go ahead and remove a couple of more petals, and then I'm satisfied with the piece that we have. And because it's layered, I can stick or glue my picks inside of it. So I have these two picks that I got from Walmart, and I'm just going to start disassembling them and pulling off the pieces that I want to use. I believe the picks were about $3 a piece, and so far I've used them for 2 different crafts and still have plenty of leftover foliage and such. Once I get all of the pieces cut off from this pick that I want to use, I'm going to go ahead and just start layering the pieces into my little burlap flower. Don't be afraid of this part. Just remember, you can place it where you think you'd like it to go, and don't glue it down until you're certain that's where you want it. And even if you do glue it down and you don't like it, just rip it apart. It's not that big of a deal. You just want to do what makes your heart happy. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start laying my pieces down one by one. And you got to start somewhere, right? I'm going to begin with my first leaf, and I'm just going to go ahead and definitely commit and glue him down, and I'm going to work around him, eyeing it from a few different angles and deciding what piece should go next to him. With florals, you really just have to trust the process. There's going to be a couple of times in the video you'll notice that things look really wonky, and that's okay. What we'll do is we'll go in and we'll fill spaces with other shapes or other sizes of things, and in the end it eventually all comes together. Get a few things down and always take a step back and take a look at it. You can see that there's some spots where you can see glue and things like that, but like I said, we're going to go back in and just start putting our filler pieces in. Now that we have a nice little base, we can go in with the fun stuff. As I'm going through and layering and taking a step back and looking at it, adding different textures and different colors, you don't want a lot of the same color or same item together. You don't want the same shape of leaf exactly side by side. You want to start adding in elements that stick out a little further than the other things. You don't want them completely symmetrical. I like to go for a more whimsy look. So now, because I'm not gluing anything down to the mold and I want to be able to preserve it and just remove this and maybe put a new topper on it, I'm going in with some command strips, and I'm just tacking down the pieces to make it look more natural. And once I get that all done, that's it. I came across this old bunt pan at my thrift store for $2, and I was so excited because I wanted to find one, but I was thinking I was going to have to paint it, but not this one. I feel like this is the perfect color, it has the perfect age, and I cannot wait to put it in my kitchen. So I'm going to start with this cardboard roll. I got this from the Dollar Tree. It had the mesh ribbon wrapped around it, so I just removed the ribbon and then I started putting on this thick jute from Walmart. I wrapped it around the entire roll, and then when I got to the end, I'm taking some wired jute that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to create like a little wiry stem, almost like a little grapevine. So I get his base wrapped around the cardboard and get it glued down, and then I just snip it off and just kind of pull the wiring up after I curl it around. Now I'm going to take the two picks I've been working with from Walmart, and I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to just start pulling off the pieces that I want to use, and instead of gluing them directly down to the bunt pan, I'm going to attach them to the jute roll. This bunt pan and these molds have to be one of my favorite things to do. They are so easy yet so satisfying. And I really think they make a big impact on your decor. So much fun for fall. As I'm layering, I always pull back to kind of take a look at it from a different angle. I know it's hard to see on video that I'm filming from above, but I kind of look at it from both angles. Sometimes I stand up, sometimes I sit down, and I just continue to layer until I feel like, that's the way it's supposed to look. It looks great. I love the way this turned out, and as soon as I saw it on Pinterest, I knew that I had to do it. When I saw this 4x4 pumpkin on Pinterest, I knew I wanted to make one, but I didn't want to do one the way that I saw a lot of them, which was traditional. So I'm going to start with my IOD stamp, and I believe it's Kindest Regards, and my black ink. And I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and then I'll go in with a wet wipe where I was a little heavy-handed and just kind of clean that up so it doesn't transfer over to my wood. As I place the stamp down, I'm going to put my hands on it, and at all times I want to have at least one hand down on the stamp so that it doesn't move around and smear the ink. So I'm gently just going over the letters of the stamp, holding it in place with one hand so that it doesn't move around, and then I will pull it up and move to the next section. I'm going to repeat the process for all four sides. Again, inking the stamp, putting it down, holding it in place, and then just gently going over the letters and getting that smoothed down onto the 4x4. After I get all four sides done, then I'm going to go in with this brand new IOD mold. It's called Hello Pumpkin, how appropriate, and I can't wait to use it. So I'm going to take it and kind of see where I'm going to put the pumpkin, and then I'm going to take my Das air dry clay, and of course you want to start with some cornstarch, and we're going to cornstarch the entire mold area. Now I'm just going to work the clay in my hands to kind of warm it up and soften it up so it's more pliable. And I'm just going to start basically mushing it down into the cavity. Once I get it filled, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to take my little dollar store scraper, little spackle knife, and I'm just going to make sure it's kind of even or a little level, and then I'm going to use it to scrape across the micro edge to get a really clean edge before I release it. You just gently pull up and it should release super easy like this. And look how pretty. I love it. So now I'm just kind of moving it across to see kind of where I want it. And once I decide that's the spot that I want it in, I'm just going to turn it over and put a nice thick coat of our Titebond Quick and Thick. And I'm going to take my Mod Podge brush and just make sure that I wipe it down and wipe it across all the edges to the ends or the edges of the pumpkin, and make sure that we have a nice even layer so that it's going to stick well to our wood as it dries, because it's going to shrink. I didn't show this part, but what I did after I got it glued down, I did kind of, I took some masking tape and I gently laid 2 strips across it so that it would adhere to the wood and not kind of pop up as it dried. Because like I said, it will shrink and it will start to crack a little bit. I let it dry overnight and I'm coming back with my home decor chalk, my folk art chalk paint and Adirondack white. And I only put 1 coat on this because I'm going to, well, it covered really well, but I'm going to go back in and I'm going to wax over top of it. So it really didn't matter in this situation. I hope you're liking the projects I've brought to you today. Are you going to make any? Please let me know down below if you're going to try any of these. I think this is one of the days where I felt like painting was like super therapeutic. I don't know about you, but either sometimes you really like painting or sometimes it's like the death of you. And today was one of those days where obviously I really enjoyed painting this pumpkin. Once I get him all painted up, I let him sit overnight to dry. Now I'm going to go in with Dixie Belle's Best Staying Wax. I'm going to use clear and black. I'm going to use the clear first just so that my black is a little bit more forgiving. So if I put the clear down first, then the black's not going to be as harsh. And that's what I want. You know, sometimes, especially with this bright white, I am a little nervous about how it's going to turn out when I'm using the black wax. But if I put down the clear wax first, then I know it'll be easier to wipe away the top layer, which is going to be the black. So I go in and I do the whole pumpkin with this little brush. I don't know why I'm using this teeny little brush. It took forever, but I'm going to clear wax the entire thing. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start working in sections with the black wax. Now remember, with dark wax, you only want to go light-handed at first, because you can always go back and add more in, but you can't necessarily go back and take some out regardless of the clear wax you've put on. So I'm putting on a nice light layer of the black wax and I'm just going back in and wiping it back, making sure that I got into all the little details and crevices. Now I am going in and I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to repeat the process for the entire pumpkin. And once I do that, I can see that yes, I want to go back in with some more black wax because I need it to have more detail. I want it to show a little bit more, so I'm going back in a little heavy-handed and getting some more of that black wax in there. You can see as I go in and I add that additional coat of wax, how much more the details, they just really start to pop. And at this point, that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing more on the edge of the leaves, the veining in the pumpkin, the stem, anything that's really going, I want to be more pronounced. Now as I start to wipe back, I am going to add some additional black wax. I want to kind of give a shadow effect to the pumpkin. I want to do a shadow effect to all of the edges of the wood. So I'm going on the outside edges of each corner of the wood, at the top, at the bottom, and I repeat this step for the entire piece. Once I'm happy with the way the details look, now we need to add a stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this little candlestick to use as our stem. Now the possibilities are endless here. You could use dowels, you could use sticks from your yard, anything. So I'm going to take this E6000 and I'm just going to put a thin layer around the base of my candlestick. I didn't need a lot because it's super light. It's just really something cheap and inexpensive. And then I'm going to glue that to the top. And once it's dry, now I want to create a bow. So what I'm going to do is I'm not necessarily going to use all of these. I'm just kind of pulling out some pieces that I think would work because I want to keep it, again, super neutral and just kind of tying into this whole, I don't know, it feels very vintage to me. So I don't know if you guys know what a Bodabra is, but I've had this thing forever. I don't even know if they still sell them. If they do, I would love to know, because I kind of think it's funny. Of course, I got sucked into this infomercial at one time many years ago, and I've used it a lot ever since. So it makes it really easy. You just put this you put a piece of wire, floral wire down in the bottom, and then you just start adding your ribbon and you're going to layer it. So I'm starting with my burlap ribbon and I'm just kind of creating a loop that I think would be sufficient, not over the top for this piece. And I'm going to create the loop, and once I get it, then I'm going to kind of mirror it on the other side. And then once you do that, then you just start layering your pieces. You pick your ribbons that you want to use, and we're going to start creating a bow from all of the layers that we're putting down inside of this. With the two thinner ribbons, I'm not creating loops. I'm just placing those down inside of them so they're almost just little tails. And that's what's so great about this is that you could put anything in here. You could start to put some greenery in here. I've put many things inside of this little Bodabra, and it is quite the little tool. So now I want to show you, I'm going back in with the burlap ribbon again, but I'm not creating a long tail like I did in the beginning. And what I'm doing is just creating a super short tail. I'm going to create my loop on the other side, and then another short tail, and I'm going to cut it. I'm not worried about this because I'll be able to hide it once I start fluffing the bow. So now you're going to take the little stick that comes with it and you just kind of mush it down and then mush it down again. And you're going to pull up your floral wire and cross it over, kind of, mushing it down. It's almost like it helps you. It's like a little hand. And then you're just going to twist, twist, twist so that it creates a tight knot around the bow itself. Now I'm going to take this piece of wired ribbon. I love this ribbon. It's so cool. It has, it's not only wired on the edges, but it's wired on the inside as well. So you can get a lot of shape out of it. So I'm just going to put down a big dab of glue and I'm going to throw that on there because I want, just to create a little bit more texture. So I'm gluing that down as well. Now I'm feeding the wires of the bow and I'm just feeding it through that mesh just because I have that tool there to work with. And once I get it fed through, I'm going to just kind of pull it tight and wrap it around so it strengthens its hold. And then I'm just going to tuck that floral wire down inside of it just so you can't see it. The next thing I did was cut the tails, and I'm going in and fluffing up the bow ties, and that's it. Now our last project for today, I found this candlestick which has great detail at my local thrift store. I think I only paid $3. Yep, $3 for it. And what we're going to do is I've cleaned it up and I'm going in with my Waverly chalk paint and elephant and I'm going to give it 2 coats. So I'm just kind of putting a nice thick layer of this paint down, making sure I get into all of the details and crevices because there are quite a few, and just taking my time over the entire thing. I had let it dry for a couple of hours and then I went back in and gave it a second coat and let it sit overnight. Now I'm going to take my Dixie Belle Best Dang Wax in white and my waxing brush and I'm going to put a nice thick layer of wax over the entire thing to kind of lighten that moody gray up. I'm definitely being heavy-handed, but don't worry, it does all wipe back and it looks really great. What do you think about what we've done today? Are you enjoying the crafts that I brought to you? Please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel. I would love it. Once I let the wax sit for just a couple of minutes, I don't want it to dry, but I do want it to sit for a couple of minutes. I go in with my paper towel and I just start gently wiping back the wax. I'm not completely wiping it off. I want it to sit in all the crevices to bring out all of the detail. This has some imperfections, a couple of little dents. And by keeping that nice heavy layer of wax on there, it really hides those imperfections. I love the way it turned out. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a simple candle ring, and because it's the fall season, instead of a candle, I'm going to add a cute little pumpkin that I found at Walmart. I think it's a great addition to this Rekindled thrift find. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed everything we've done today. See you soon.